Great time. And hopefully next
And maybe even some of us older owners is, but I'm back.
It's tea time, fools.
Yep, just like the title says, adults have ruined gaming. And that's pretty much it. I'm glad you watched this episode. Thank you guys for watching. There's nothing really else more to say on it, and I'll see you next time. Gotcha. Just kidding. Let's get a little deeper into it, shall we? Well, I come to this revelation, realizing my own faults as a gamer in my adult years here. I just remember, back when I was younger, the innocence of gaming and just, playing through games that weren't that great, but still enjoying that process, just still enjoying it. Never thinking, oh man, this game is terrible. The controls suck. The textures, frame rate, blah, blah, blah. Never thinking about any of that stuff. Just, thinking that maybe I'm not good enough to beat it, Not that any of the limitations or technical problems or anything like that are at fault. It's just me. I'm not good enough at this game to beat it. So I would, I'd play it for hours and hours and just push through until I got, till I got good, son. Till I got better, despite all the issues, and was able to beat it, or at least enjoy it if I didn't completely beat the game itself. And that's just something that I don't think we think about anymore now that we're adults. A lot of us gamers grew up in, came into gaming in the 80s and 90s. I just don't think we don't think that anymore. We spend hours and hours, and some of us who do YouTube videos, hundreds of videos, just talking about, how terrible this game is, how terrible that game is. I'm guilty of that myself. It's like, sometimes it's fun to make fun of bad games. There's a guy here on YouTube who I love to watch. He doesn't do those videos as much anymore. He's kind of expanded, and I guess maybe he's running out of bad games. The Angry Video Game Nerd, he pretty much made his name being, quote unquote, angry about really bad video games. But even he wasn't really angry about the games. It was just, a character he played, and it was funny. It was a fun character, and it was a way to make, bad games good. Just being able to enjoy them in a entertainment kind of setting. And maybe a lot of the games you haven't even heard of before. And there's a whole culture around even just, bad video games, to the point where they have a cult following, And, to me, that's different. That's different than what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just, adults bringing in their adult bullshit and that ruin gaming. I think it starts with gaming media, gaming quote unquote journalism, and then it permeated into gamers. And now that gamers have a voice on Twitch and YouTube and social media and stuff, that kind of negativity has permeated throughout us. But let me start with the media first. If you can just remember, like back in old magazines, even on, just websites talking about video games, the tone was a lot different. And that's not for every gaming site. Some gaming sites still have a happy tone, a focus on the video games, a core love of the video games tone. But some gaming sites, they treat video games only as art. Now, we all understand, or I think most of us believe, that video game is art as well. Video games are art. But you have some sites that are kind of, not just sites, but particular, journalists, quote unquote journalists, who have kind of a pretentious outlook on gaming. And I feel like a lot of these guys are failed journalists who maybe would have went into something else, maybe something in the real world, more serious, but they ended up somehow doing video game journalism, and there's a kind of bitterness, a kind of jaded characteristic to them, and it permeates in their writing about video games and the way they talk about video games, maybe in a video review. And it just seems like, it sounds like, and it looks like they're trying to win Pulitzer prizes or something for their writing, instead of just giving us, is the game fun? Don't mire me in all this technical mumbo jumbo. Is the game fun? And I just, I look at my old magazines and I don't see a lot of that. Oh, AI this, or anti-aliasing, or frame rates, or any of that stuff. It, as it went on, it slowly got, more and more relevant, that all that stuff. It, you started seeing it more in print media and videos. But, that innocence is dead now, because adults have to ruin everything. I see a lot of the younger guys who do YouTube videos, they're not as serious. I mean, they just take it so serious. It's like, this is serious business. Like, they act like these video games are ruining their lives, and I just think that needs to stop. And like I said, I'm guilty of this stuff too, to some degree. I don't think I'm nearly as bad as some of those people who wait for the opportunity to pounce on something negative and just mire themselves in negativity. I don't think I do anything near that. The innocent joy of video gaming has died to some degree. And, a lot of it has to do with the fact that, people are spending their hard-earned dollars on stuff. Back in the days, the parents, before, gaming was as mainstream and you had adults playing, probably mostly adults now. Back in those days, the parents would buy the game for the kid and they wouldn't care about it, and the kid would play. Like I said, and as a kid, you let a lot of that stuff go. You didn't let a lot of it bother you. Yeah, you got frustrated with bad game design, but you didn't see it as bad game design. You just thought, I'm not good enough at this. Yeah, this is hard or too hard. And you just kind of went on with it. But now that those kids have grown up and they've been placated with all this stuff from gaming media, gaming journalists, it starts to feed into their own kind of, what should I say, outlook on video games, their own impressions, their own thoughts, their own opinions on games. Like, I think we've been kind of brandished with all of this stuff for years and decades, where, at least a decade of this kind of journalism about video games that are just way overly too serious, and the stakes are so high, and you have all this activism in video games, which I think goes way too far. It's one thing to be activists and ask for certain things, but to the point where you're angry, literally angry about this stuff, to me that's crazy. That's when it's gone too far, because there's things in this world to be angry about that affect real lives, that have nothing to do with interactive media. So I just think gamers are jaded, and it's mostly adult gamers. But the problem with that is that we're bringing up new gamers. So they're listening to us, they're seeing how we act, and they're also being inundated. They're also being having their opinions and thoughts about video games change because they see all these adults, and then this is how they talk about games, and they start to do it too. And before long, this medium will be so jaded, there's be full of so many jaded people that it will suffer, and it's already suffering. And people talk about how video games have changed. I think a lot of how they feel about video games has changed, and the industry sucks now, that kind of thing. I think a lot of that has to do with, how we talk about video games and how we interact with each other. And I think it just sucks. And a lot of it doesn't have to do with the video games themselves. It has to do with the people talking about them. And unfortunately, we spend way too much time on the negative and not enough on what's cool about games and what's cool about gaming. Like, a lot of people are like, well, this is the worst gen ever. And I've said that myself, but I don't think I really dug into why I feel that way. And I think most of it has to do with the community. It's not the games themselves. Yes, sure, there's a lot of variety that we used to have in console gaming that we don't have anymore. There's still a lot of variety in PC gaming, but particularly console gaming doesn't have a lot of variety anymore. And a lot of it is the fall of this jaded, kind of way we look at video games. We don't give certain types of games a chance and that kind of a thing. And that's the issue. That's, like I said, I think the community is a bigger problem when it comes to enjoyment of video games. And so, I feel like this is one of the best gens I've had as far as me being a gamer. Like, it takes me back almost to the N64, PS1 era, Sega Saturn era, because this gen, I was really into the community in gaming the same way I was back then. I've spent a lot of money on video games and have been really into the culture of it for the first time since that era. Like I said, that PS1 and 64 era, when I felt like I became a gamer and was really invested in it. And so that's the good side of it, but that negative community stuff comes with it. And the way we don't give games a chance and the way we talk about it is always, you can say a game is bad, but it's not ruining your life. And we seem to talk about it like it's ruining our life. And I think that has a lot to do with adults and how they approach, the life, how we approach our life, real life problems. And we start attributing, the way we handle our real life problems to, how we feel about video games. I don't know if you understand that. I don't know. I just feel like we feel like it affects us as negatively as, a negative thing that happens in our, personal lives. And that's not what gaming is about. Gaming is supposed to be an escape. It's supposed to be fun. And when it's not fun, you should move on and let everybody else have fun still, and save your activism for politics, and try to enjoy games. Like, you don't have to buy bad games. If a game is bad, you don't buy it. You don't have to scream from the hilltops, because you're not changing anybody's mind. Somebody's going to buy what they're going to buy. But you don't have to scream from the hilltops of how you're being,
Yes.
Treated as a consumer. Like, there's this conspiracy against you, because you don't have to buy the stuff. Like, you don't have to buy it. And that's how I feel. Like, I don't talk about bad games. I own a couple. I own a few, and I don't spend a whole lot of time talking about them because, it takes a lot to make a game good, and I recognize that. And there's no point in spending time on, games, talking about games negatively. I'll talk about them in podcasts in passing, but I'm not going to focus on make a video about it, or center the podcast around negative stuff. So anyway, yeah, that's all I have to say on that. What do you think? Do you feel that the older you've gotten, the more jaded you've become, and that permeates through how you talk about games? And, I think we just need to take a look at ourselves, look in the mirror once in a while, and evaluate why we play video games and what they're about to us. So yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you fools next time. Peace out.
Oh yeah, one more thing. Play Nintendo, fools. And thank you all for watching Mizzah Tee Show.